Gather close, younglings, come to the shimmering pool. Yes, all 6 tentacles folded neatly behind you, just as I have shown. That's right now, tonight, you will hear the tale of the fall of the greatest empire. The stars have ever seen our empire. The Voxarian Dominion, but Elder Xantix's small Plavox piped up, her facial crests glowing with interest. I thought our lessons said the Dominion collapsed because of economic failure and uprisings in 17 sectors. Ha, what ridiculous tales they fill. Your minds with these days, economic failure, rebellion. Those were only the outward signs, not the root cause. Know our vast civilization stretching across 3 spiral arms of the galaxy, controlling the wealth of 12,000 worlds, was humbled by a lone human, just one individual carrying a torch like flames. Plavox asked, her multifaceted eyes blinking in puzzlement. Not real flames, you silly hatchling, though in some ways that is precisely what he carried. Symbolic fire, revolutionary. Fire the sort that sweeps through empires, leaving only ashes behind. Let me begin. At the start, I served as a mid-tier security overseer on Voxaria Prime, our homeworld in the closing days of the Dominion. The earliest accounts of this human came from the Outer Rim, a remote sphere called Tarago 4. Nothing remarkable about it. Merely another extraction world providing neodymium for our war fleets. The notice appeared on my console during an otherwise ordinary shift, a disturbance at mining. Outpost 47-1 human detainee escaped 3 guards, dead, property loss, minimal threat level, negligible. But that sounds severe. One of you blurts from the back, "Oh, sweet untested mind, you must grasp the magnitude of the Dominion." 3 guards, we commanded millions, 1 missing captive. We held billions across the stars. Such messages landed on my desk 20 times a cycle, from first reports of escape across known space. I merely flagged it for later review and moved on standard. Procedure 3 cycles afterward. Another alert, communication failure on Tarago 4 caused undetermined estimated restoration, 2 standard rotations. Now this twitched my first tentacle in suspicion extraction. Worlds never simply fall silent. They are too critical. I sent a routine query to Sector Command, their reply. Likely hardware fault, maintenance ships dispatched. Continue observation. So I did, and for 16 rotations all remained still, until abruptly 3 more extraction colonies in that same sector went dark at once. Coincidence is the excuse of the dull-minded. My superior administrator Caldrax often said so. I assembled a dossier linking the escaped human to the recent communications failures. I sent it straight to Caldra, skipping formal protocol. His reply was immediate. Do not clutter my desk with absurd theories about a lone human disrupting entire sectors. Humans are scarcely spacefaring throwbacks. Concentrate on actual dangers. In hindsight, that rejection was our earliest and gravest error. But at the time, how could we suspect humans were newcomers to the interstellar stage? Small, soft-bodied beings with curious stamina, yet otherwise unremarkable, their homeworld had been partly absorbed into the Dominion. Only 30 cycles earlier, most served as laborers or as novelties for the amusement of the powerful 8 more rotations slipped by. I was about to log off when every single alarm in the security hub erupted at once, not 1 or 2, all of them. "Together, what's happening?" I shouted. Barely heard above the noise, my aide Knox was racing through incoming feeds. "It's not possible, we're receiving uprising alerts from all 17 mining colonies in the Tarago sector. The local defenses are engaged under siege by who show me the feeds. The displays flared with images of chaos, extraction yards ablaze, defense spires collapsing, Voxian troops in full retreat, and among the attackers, humans and native species fighting side by side. How many inbound craft, I demanded, already estimating the counterstrike requirements. Knox looked up, his facial ridges drained of color. None, Administrator, no arrivals logged in this sector for the past 30 rotations. That's impossible. These strikes are too precise. They must have foreign backing the reports. Name a leader, Envox said softly, and he is human. They call him the Torchbearer. My blood chilled. One human. The fugitive prisoner, within a single day, the whole sector had fallen 17. World's billions in assets, and the vital corridor to the Cleverian Nebula, erased the High Council, raged Sector Command, was executed for gross failure, and I was elevated to replace them. Charged with ending the crisis, my first act was to open the full dossier on this human. His name Darius Thorne, taken 3 cycles prior. While trafficking banned tech into the mining colonies, the interrogation records were maddeningly sparse. But one passage burned into memory. Why endanger yourself for aliens? You barely know, the interrogator asked. Answer. Because liberty isn't bound to one species. You tentacled despot, and someone has to light the path attached. Was a psych profile subject, exhibits rare endurance and alarming skill at uniting disparate. Species recommendation terminate immediately. That order was countermanded by Central Command, who shipped Thorne to the labor camps on Tarago 4. Another disastrous blunder. I convened a team of our sharpest strategists. This human, this torchbearer, must be hunted down and destroyed at once. I told them, commit any resources required. General Vrazi, a decorated hero of the Andromeda fronts, actually chuckled. With due respect, Administrator, you exaggerate one human, no matter how cunning, cannot endanger. The Dominion we will stamp out this minor uprising with standard measures. So we deployed standard measures, 3 battlecruisers, 50,000 troops, enough might to pacify an entire system. The torchbearer emerges. They never came back. Instead. 3. Rotations later, we intercepted a transmission across every channel. Darius Thorne filled the displays, an unremarkable-looking human with dark hair and eyes that seemed lit from within, citizens of the Dominion. He spoke evenly, yet with a voice that carried, your warships are in our possession. Your soldiers have been offered a choice: stand with us or be held. Most chose to stand with us because in their hearts all beings know tyranny. Even those who serve it. Razek struck the console with his tentacles lies. Our forces would never to the ruling council of the Voxiarian Dominion. Thorne went on. Take this as an official declaration. You call yourselves an empire, yet you are nothing more than bullies who grew too large. Every empire in history shares the same flaw. They forget that control is nothing but an illusion. I am not here to destroy you. I am here to remind all beneath your heel that they outnumber you. I am only one man with a torch, and that is enough to ignite a blaze. Then the broadcast cut, the chamber went still. Find him. I breathed whatever it takes, but locating Darius Thorne was impossible. While we concentrated on the Tarago sector, identical revolts flared in the Kronos and Vega sectors, always the same. Sequence communications failed, and days later, the whole sector rose in synchronized rebellion, always with whispers of the torchbearer's arrival. How is he moving between sectors unseen? I pressed at an emergency council session. Perhaps he is not offered Counselor Zevix. Perhaps these are copycat rebellions, but intercepted communications proved. Otherwise, it was always him somehow appearing, where our defenses were weakest, inspiring the local populations and even our own troops to turn against us. 3 months into the crisis, we'd lost control of 8 sectors. The High Sovereign himself took command of the response, deploying the Sacred Fleet, our most powerful military force never before used against internal threats. I was there on the command ship when we arrived at Kronos Prime, the latest world to fall. Our sensors detected a small vessel attempting to flee the system scans, confirmed a single human life sign aboard. We have found him. The High Sovereign announced, his voice vibrating with anticipation. After all this trouble, the human Triesto escape in a shuttle, pathetic tractor-failed military response beam that vessel into the main hangar. You want to meet this torchbearer before High's execution. I felt uneasy. Your Magnificence. This seems too easy. The High Sovereign fixed his primary eyes on me. Are you suggesting this primitive outsmarted our entire fleet? I lowered my gaze respectfully. Know your magnificence, but caution, is for the weak. Interrupted. Execute my orders. The small craft was pulled into our hangar bay. The light guards surrounded it. Weapons ready. The hatch opened, revealing Darius. Thorne hands raised in apparent surrender. The famous torchbearer. The High Sovereign. Said approaching with an arrogant swagger, not so impressive in person, Thorne smiled. Not a smile of fear or resignation, but of someone exactly where they planned to be. You know, Thorne said conversationally, the problem with beings who evolve from predator species is that you never lose that instinct to chase. What runs, I counted on that. The High Sovereign's facial ridges flared with anger. Your psychological games won't save you. Your rebellion ends today. This was never my rebellion, Thorne replied. I just showed people they had the power all along. And now I'm showing them that even the High Sovereign isn't untouchable. That's when we all realized our terrible mistake. We'd brought the most dangerous human in the galaxy directly to our command ship alongside. The highest leadership of the Dominion alarms began. Blaring throughout the ship, reports flooded in of simultaneous sabotage across the entire sacred fleet, weapon systems offline, engines compromised, and most disturbing widespread mutiny among the lower ranks. What have you done? The High Sovereign demanded, his composure finally cracking. Thorne's eyes reflected the emergency lights, making them appear to burn like twin flames. I told you I'm just one man with a torch, but that's all you need to start a fire. The last thing I remember. That's why one government can't effectively rule thousands of worlds. Local problems need local solutions. Interplanetary issues need representatives from affected worlds working together. No empires, no dominions, just cooperation where necessary and autonomy, where possible. It sounded like naive idealism, I said as much. Horn's response surprised me again. Of course, it's idealistic. All progress begins with someone being unreasonably idealistic. Reality catches up later. He consulted with the other tribunal members, briefly, then turned back to me. Administrator's antics, you have two options. Retirement to any non-strategic world of your choosing with sufficient resources to live comfortably but privately for a T-Auror. I prompted when he paused. Join us. Help build something better than the Dominion. Your analytical skills identified me as a threat when others couldn't see it. Those same skills could help prevent new threats to the peace we're trying to build. I was stunned. You would trust a former enemy, Thorne. Smiled. Trust is built, not given. But everyone deserves the chance to be more than what an empire told them to be. And that moment changed everything for me. Not just my fate, but my understanding. I chose to join them, initially planning to spy for loyalist forces, but as weeks, fall of the Dominion, turned into months, I witnessed something remarkable unfold, the rebellion. No, the revelation, as Thorne called it, spread faster than anyone thought possible. Not through military conquest, but through communication. World after world simply stopped obeying the Dominion. Military vessels defected and mass colonial governors declared independence. Within 6 months, the mighty Voxarian Dominion controlled only its home system and a handful of nearby worlds. The rest had joined what became known as the Galactic. Cooperative was there no resistance. Little Plavox interrupts my story. Surely the Dominion fought back. Oh, they tried, clever one. Their remaining loyalists launched desperate counterattacks, attempting to recapture strategic worlds. But each attempt only strengthened the cooperative. When Dominion forces arrived at formerly subjugated worlds, they found not ragtag rebels, but organized planetary defense forces composed of many species working together, including former Dominion soldiers. The final battle, if you could call it, that came when the remnants of the Dominion fleet approached Voxaria. Prime itself, our home world. The newly formed Cooperative Defense Force intercepted them near the outer system. Communication channels were opened, terms were offered. And then Plavox prompts her facial ridges twitching with excitement. And then nothing. No grand battle, no heroic last stand. The fleet commanders opened their gun ports in the traditional salute of surrender. Later, many said, they simply couldn't justify fighting to preserve a system that had already proven itself obsolete. As for the High Sovereign, he refused to accept the new reality, barricaded himself in the Imperial Palace with his most fanatical supporters threatened to detonate antimatter charges that would render Voxia prime uninhabitable unless his rule was recognized. Darius Thorne himself led the team that infiltrated the palace, not to capture the High Sovereign, but to evacuate the service staff. Ordinary Voxians, caught in the standoff. For 3 days they worked in secret creating escape routes. The High Sovereign's end smuggling out those who wished to leave. On the 4th day, the High Sovereign made good on his threat. The palace disappeared in a blinding flash, visible from orbit. He chose destruction over adaptation. But thanks to Thorne's team, the only casualties were those who chose to stay, the High Sovereign and 200 loyalists. That's horrible. One of the younglings whispers, yes, it was a tragic end to a once great civilization, but also a beginning. From the ashes of the Dominion arose something new, not perfect but better. The galactic, cooperative thousands of worlds, hundreds of species each maintaining their cultural identity while working together on shared challenges. And what happened to the torchbearer? Plavox asks. The question everyone asks. The official record says Darius Thorne perished in the palace explosions, sacrificing himself to save the last group of evacuees. Monuments were built. Songs were composed. He became a legend, the one man with a torch who burned down an empire and lead a better path, but that's not true. Is it Elder Xantix? Plavox says, her compound eyes fixed on me with unnerving intensity. You wouldn't know all these details if he died there. Clever observant. Little one. You are right. Of course, the official record is incomplete. 4 days after the palace explosion, I received an encrypted message directing me to a small spaceport on the outskirts of the capital. There I found a nondescript cargo vessel and inside Darius Thorne, very much alive. You faked your death. I said, not entirely surprised. He nodded. Legends are more useful than leaders. If I stayed, people would look to home for answers instead of finding their own revolutions often devour their heroes or worse turn them into new tyrants. Where will you go? I asked. There are other empires out there, he said, looking toward the stars. Other beings living under boots. They have been told. They can't remove. I still have my torch and me, I asked. Why tell me you are alive? The true legacy revealed, because someone needs to know the truth. Someone needs to understand that it was never about me. I didn't end the Dominion. Everyone did together, once they realized they could. He gave me one final task before departing to preserve the true story, to pass it down to future generations. Not as a tale of one hero, but as our reminder that change is always possible when enough people decide the current system no longer serves them. And so here I am, younglings, fulfilling that promise, Elder Xantix, once a loyal administrator of the Dominion, now keeper of the true history of its fall. Do you think he's still out there? Plavox asks, her voice hushed with wonder. The torchbearer. I look up at the night sky, visible through the observatory dome. Above us, somewhere out there among those countless stars, other empires rise and fall. Other beings suffer under systems they believe are too big to challenge. I don't know, I tell her honestly, but I know this. Ideas travel faster than starship stories, burn brighter than torches. Perhaps Darius Thorne himself is long gone, but his legacy continues. How do you know? Another youngling asks. I smile, my old facial ridges crinkling. Because you are hearing his story right now, aren't you? And tomorrow, perhaps, You will tell someone else. That's how revolutions really work, not with weapons or warriors, but with words and ideas that pass from mind to mind, impossible to contain once released. As I send the younglings off to their sleeping quarters, I linger in the observatory, gazing at the stars. The galactic cooperative isn't perfect. No system created by imperfect beings could be. But it's better than what came before. There's more freedom, more cooperation, more possibility, and sometimes late at night, like this, is where I can hear Darius Thorne's voice carried on the solar winds. I'm just one man with a torch, but that's all it takes to start a fire. The most powerful weapon in the universe isn't a doomsday device or a battle fleet. It's a story that makes people question what they have been told. A story that makes them believe change is possible. That's why I tell this tale, younglings, not to glorify the past, but to illuminate the future. Because somewhere out there, right now, someone is striking a match against the darkness.